Everybody, close your eyes with me for 2 seconds. Well, not two, but a couple. Close your eyes with me, please. Imagine that you are like Peter walking on the water, walking towards Jesus into the arms of everything that he has for you. And suddenly you notice the winds and the waves and the chaos around you, and you realize that Jesus becomes dim and everything that he has for you is suddenly gone. Open your eyes. Unfortunately, you've become distracted. And this, not as dramatic, but is an example of how worship services nowadays can be in our world today. And, we have a lot of paraphernalia and fluff and even natural reactions that can cause us to be distracted from worship. So let us look at some of the distractions that can happen during a worship experience. We have nowadays this really cool thing called lighting, where they have all the strobe lights and stuff to get everybody excited, especially young people. They have smoke machines. Another very distracting thing for me personally is bad singing. Okay? Some people don't realize that they don't have the gift to sing. That can be very distracting during a worship service. Another thing that can be really distracting to us is the fact that some people may have clothing and different things on them that take our attention off of what's being sung or said during a service. That happens during a praise and worship time in a worship service. Now we have another time that can also be very distracting for us, which is the sermonic portion of the service, where people like to have their phones out, like y'all in chapel, and want to play Pokemon Go and Snake or other things, or check your Facebook. That can be very distracting to people on the side of you.
Yeah.
Another thing that can be distracting to some of us in worship services is talking. We don't realize that we don't want to hear about your weekend during the services or the time that the preacher is preaching. The speaker can also be a distraction, and I know that seems weird, but his or her tone of voice can be either too high pitched for you or too monotone for you, and that can be a distraction for each and every one of us. And my personal favorite, unruly children. They can jump up and down and scream and cry and distract you from what the Lord has to say to you, or may want to say to someone on the side of you. So those are our distractions. One person by the name of John Bakima, he wrote an article called "Worshiping to Distractions." He said it's absolutely amazing how people can actually worship with the distractions around them. Now let's look at the effects of these distractions on me and you. To us, they can cause us to forget the purpose as to why we're at a worship service. We can really forget the fact that we're here for Jesus and not for the kid that's screaming on the side of us. We can forget the fact that this is not a time for observing, a time for looking around, but a time to exalt the one that actually brought us to the worship service. We can also forget that it's not just about fun, but it's about a faith based worship for all of us, and realizing that we're not supposed to be just distracted, but focused on Jesus. It can also make us irritated, it can make us impatient, it can make us exasperated, and we can also become angry by the distractions all around us. So, in conclusion, now that how we know what can distract us during a worship service, and we know how these things can affect us, we can be very conscious of what can distract us from walking safely on the water to Jesus Christ. Thank you very much.